Hi, I'm Jennifer with Martingale, and today I have a trunk show of quilts from the book Fresh Start Quilts by Connie Tesene and Mary Etherington. You might know these two ladies best as Country Threads. They've been making quilts for years under that name, and they used to own a shop in Iowa that was named that same thing, Country Threads. But Connie and Mary have a fresh new look. You might also be familiar with their sort of dark and more primitive color scheme that they used for years, but now they're excited about some of the lighter, brighter shades and tones that come out. So no matter what colors you like, you're gonna love this collection of quilts and mini pillows. There are 11 scrappy quilts and 3 mini pillows in the book, and let's get started looking at them. The first quilt is called Feathered to a T. Look at this beauty. I just absolutely love those pops of polka dot in there. And the T block was maybe best known for the temperance movement back in the day, but they've added these little feathers to the edge of it, and I absolutely love this quilt, Feathered to a T. This next beauty is called Iowa Roads, and they are both residents of Iowa and talk about the country back roads there are very unique. They'll all take you to different places, and so they designed this quilt with each block sort of one of a kind and using all their Halloween colors, but instead of harsh blacks, they've chosen more grays and soft oranges, and they've also made it super cuddly by using a plush fabric on the back. You can just imagine curling up in it on a crisp fall day. That's called Iowa Roads. For this next pair of quilts, we're going to get down to the large and small of it. So this first one is called Spring Days. And I like to think of what Connie and Mary are doing as sort of refreshing. Do you change your decor at home from maybe a darker, warmer palette during the winter to fresh spring palette, and you're ready for some new colors in the spring? I think that's what Connie and Mary have done in this book of quilts. And this Spring Days quilt is really just a combination of some larger triangle squares and then this beautiful setting fabric that they've chosen for the solid squares that showcases a larger print. So this one is actually bed size or a great throw size as well, and it's called Spring Days. But maybe you're more a fan of the smalls, so this little fellow is called Song of Spring, and it's the smaller version. Maybe you're one of those quilters who likes to keep every piece of fabric and you just can't bear to part with it. Well, this is the perfect project for using up those little bitty scraps. Song of Spring. And again, you can see they've used a larger scale blueprint in those setting squares. Just really charming. Would be great addition to a wall hanging or a tabletop decor item. Are you an applique fan? If so, cherry baskets might be for you. This is reminiscent of the 30s prints, I think, but actually made from a lot of just low volume, soft background, cream and ivory colored prints with some pinks mixed in. The baskets are all appliqued on, and then to add the little cherries to the basket, they've added little buttons for embellishments. You could use yo-yos or applique circles if you prefer, but I think the buttons add a really cute embellishment and sort of a throwback look. Iowa, maybe you know this fun fact and maybe you don't, but this is called Wind Farm, and Iowa is the #1 producer of wind energy. And this beautiful quilt, you can see sort of that old-fashioned windmill shape in the soft blue tones, sort of a chambray edge to this, and then you also see a secondary windmill of pinwheels running back there with the more feathered edge as well. And I love these tiny pinwheels they've set in the sashing to add that secondary design. Really cute as it comes together. Are you a fan of reds and whites? Aren't we all to some extent? This is called Picnic. And again, very scrappy, uses an assortment of red prints around the center. These triangle squares are all made with an assortment of prints, and even the creams in the backgrounds for this are scrappy as well. But a medallion center working your way out, and absolutely gorgeous stars. Their next quilt plays off of a more fall or autumnal palette, and this is called Grape Leaves and Figs. And what I love about this pattern are those little pops of purple that come out and the little gold that sort of sparkles from behind. It really gives this quilt a lot of depth. And for this pattern, they also share a little mini quilt or mini pillow pattern. And these, they stuff them very densely, so you could use this as a giant pincushion if you wanted, or maybe you like bowl fillers in your decor, so you could set it up next to something. This is a great way to use a practice block if you make a practice block with your project and not let it go to waste. They're also fun for you to work on your machine quilting skills. If you're getting some practice at that, quilting one small quilt block is a great way to do that. This quilt is called Garden Paths, and Connie and Mary joke that every season is gardening season where they live, because they're either preparing the ground to get ready to plant or in full swing of the season, or they're deadheading things and getting rid of them at the end of the season so they can be ready when spring comes back around. So this is called Garden Path, and you can see these gorgeous stars, a variety of prints, a mix of reds. The reds don't all match exactly, the backgrounds don't match exactly, but that's the beauty of making scrappy quilts. You can really mix it up and add interest to your quilt. So that's the Garden Path, and there's also a little mini pillow for that one. So here's another version. The next quilt I'm going to share with you is the cover quilt, and I think it is phenomenal. It is called Fresh Air, and like a breath of fresh air, they have really sparkled with their choice of fabrics. Again, you get this really bright pop of blue and a little bit of coral, hot pink, a very scrappy quilt, beautiful star block, and depending on your placement of lights and darks, you can see a square sort of emerge around that center star behind it. It really changes things up. And one thing I also admire is if you like to do straight line quilting, there's lots of simple straight line quilting as a way to finish your own quilts and add a spectacular finish. So if you know Connie and Mary, you know that they're both animal lovers of all kinds. And so this next quilt sort of makes me smile because it's called Betty's Big Red House, and Betty is a big black Labrador, and they might have taken some leeway with how fancy Betty's house is, but I absolutely love Betty's Big Red House. I have a Louie who's a big golden, so maybe I'll have to make this and change Betty's color to match Louie, but this has a little bit of applique on it with the stars and the trees, but the house is pieced together and super cute. Betty obviously appliqued, and then a little Betty's pillow. So maybe you have a pooch and your pooch has a leash or an area where you keep your pet treats. This would make the perfect accompaniment to that. All of the quilts that I've shared with you are from the book Fresh Start Quilts by Mary Etherington and Connie Tesene of Country Threads. Look for it wherever you buy books or at shopmartingale.com.